Hello, shining stars. Welcome to Mah'ela Gaia's channel. Today I will talk about something many of you have experienced or are about to, and I've been through that. It's called the dark night of the soul. And I will talk about this phenomenon and also how we can transcend it and what it means to have the dark night of the soul, what it makes you feel like, what it looks like when we experience it, but what comes afterwards, which is often renewal. Many of you have probably been in this kind of periods in your life where everything feels like everything is collapsing, everything comes to an end, everything that you do is simply like coming to an end. Your job, maybe some relationship, partnership, or something like you thought you had, like the house, the mortgage that you cannot reimburse anymore. Like, there is a collapse of everything in life. You feel like everything is against you. You also feel you're like in a turmoil, that it's like being in a storm, being in a whirlpool, in a sea which is like in a stormy weather. And there is this feeling that you're completely desperate, that nothing can help you out, that nothing can make you feel better. I've experienced several of those in my life, but one really, really strong one was when I was a student in 2003, 2004. I went through a phase where I knew I was doing something, but that didn't feel quite right. And that's often when we feel this dark night of the soul. We are like, there is blockages, but in a way they reflect what we feel inside. You're doing something that doesn't feel quite right, but you're thinking, no, maybe I can still do it. I don't know what else I could do. At that time when it happened to me, I was doing a master's of social science, and I was living in England, a country which I really, really enjoy living in, and I've been living for a few years in the UK. And after that I moved to Finland, but in between, during my studies in the UK, I also came to Finland for a year. And I really like the vibrations and the energies in Finland. They really like were fitting to me, to my own soul. I didn't know how to explain back then, like why I'm so attracted to that place, but it was just probably the nature, the energies, everything. I think how it vibrated and echoed and resonated with me. So it really was fitting with my own self vibrations. And I started to feel and see that everything around me, so during those times, the dark night of the soul feels like it's a huge depression. You're really depressed, you're down, you feel you're falling in the abyss of your own self. And during those time I felt like, okay, I'm homesick, I would like to go to Finland, like I miss the life there. And that's also the time when I started to become aware of the matrix. We didn't talk so much about those things back then, but I remember being in the streets and feeling like suddenly I got the knowledge that, oh my God, it's like all these people, they walk, but they are like ghosts, they don't know that they are alive. They are alive without being alive. And I'm part of this, and I felt like the strings, above me, like being controlled like a puppet and forced to act in some ways. And these strings trying to bend my own will. And I felt like I wasn't sovereign of my own life. I wasn't sovereign of my own will. I couldn't really control my own will. And I felt like I saw some type of, a grid all around me. Like I looked up in the sky and I was like, this is like something is controlled, like a grid. And I like lines. I could feel this line, like metallic lines, like a cage, like we were really encaged. And I started to be aware of that, and it made me really sad and depressed, and no one could really understand me, and I couldn't talk about those things to anyone. I didn't know where to get the knowledge from. And I mean, like 15, 20 years ago, we didn't really talk so much about those things. Then it really, like, I was thinking that whatever I'm doing now, like all these studies and all, is it really worth? Is it, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of my life? So during the dark night of the soul, you really re-question everything. What you are, why are you here, who are you? And it's the big who am I question, the big why am I here? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of my life? What am I supposed to do here? So there is all this deep, deep, deep questioning, self-questioning occurring. And it's really something that can fall on you like, you know, tons of bricks, like suddenly collapsing on your head, and feeling like, what am I supposed to do now? You know, what's gonna happen next? What does it all mean? And then you feel you're in a hole and stuck in a hole. And I managed to go out of that because I went through some spiritual awakening. Usually it precedes a huge spiritual awakening. I managed to come on to holiday to Finland, and that's when actually I had some sort of illumination, I can say it like this, huge revelations about human life, about my purpose here, who I am. And then it healed me. It took me out of this dark night of the soul, which was really, really, like, I was on low vibes. Like I'd never experienced anything like that before, even if I had already been depressed or really feeling low. But that was something unknown. It was really like reaching the other side of my own being. At some point I was thinking like, maybe that's what schizophrenia is about. You know, you reach the other side, your other side of your mind. You look at your mind from being behind your mind. And it was really quite a journey, quite an experience. And I remember after that, so I had this huge illumination, revelations, but that was not the end. It's not something that just, suddenly it's gone. Okay, I had this dark night of the soul. Now it's the end of the tunnel and here comes the light. No, it didn't work that way. So for some time, yes, this light came to me, those revelations, but then you have your own life going on, and you have this new knowledge, and very few information about you to try to make sense of this knowledge. So you feel, I remember writing so much about it, so that was helping my mental process, my mind to process it. And it took some time when I was like, like a bit floating, you know, for some weeks or months. But then after that came a new collapse, a new sort of dark night of the soul, but it took a different form. It was not only dark night of the soul when you're like everything is collapsing before a new knowledge. It was more cleansing and clearing the dark side of my own self. So we all have a dark side. Even the brightest people, I believe, we all have little piece of something dark in us, which is something I would say energetically necessary, because it helps us also to protect ourselves. But mostly it was a journey for me to explore that dark side. And I remember like feeling all this negative, the worst ideas, the worst negative things you can feel about yourself. And I wrote like poems and words. Oh my God, when those I will never reveal them. They are, you know, in the archives, because they are really, really dark, really sad, negative. But basically I wrote from the bottom of the abyss what it feels to be like really on the dark side of yourself. What it feels to feel so bad, so sad, so desperate, so angry at the world, angry at everything, angry at yourself. The anger, all these negative feelings, the anger, the sadness, the despair, like all those things, like they really came out. But I was thinking, like, I want to face them. I don't want to push them again, one more time. I'm gonna analyze them, write about them, let them come out and see what those things are. Like, what are they about? And then I wrote like words and words and words, like tones. And it took several weeks until suddenly I felt like, whew, that's okay now. It's all theirs. And suddenly I was, I'm starting to feel better, like today. And then the next day, bad again, and then good. And it was a process. But really, it was a journey of facing, my worst fears, putting them to the paper, writing about them, facing my own dark side. And I tried to talk about it to some friends, and one person once told me, like, you're a really nice person. Why can't you just be nice? And why do you need to, bring up those things, like those dark stuff? And I became so angry at that. I was like, no, he missed completely the point. Actually, we need to take them out, to look at them. And then that's how we release them, we get rid of them, and then we feel more balanced again. That was the way for me to find balance. And I think it's something that many people like. So many people that I know they have a dark side, or like darker side, but they are all trying to ignore it, bottle up the emotions. Like kids, for example, they have a tantrum. They can't take something. Like, I don't say adults should have a tantrum when they are angry, but just let the feelings like come out. It doesn't mean we need to start shouting at everyone and become aggressive, but it's like, if the feelings arose, like, like you're so annoyed at something, well, the best way, I started to become aware of it. So you start to see those, like, this monster rising, your demons are rising out of you, and if you feel that, you can become aware of it, and with your mind try to go out somehow of your mind and see, aha, now I see them. You become the own observer of your own self, so the distant observer of your own self. You take distance, and then suddenly you're like, okay, now I see you, now I understand how it functions. And I learned to develop that process, that I went out of me, and it was my soul analyzing my mind and some deep part of my own being. That was what happened. I would say the process works like this. Somehow you become aware of what happens. It's really a process of awareness, and you're like, oh my God, I'm angry at that, but why? Where it comes from? And you let it come out. Okay, I observe this anger, like during meditation, you observe it's gonna come and pass. And then after that, that's it. Then you're like, okay, you can write about it, but it will feel better and lighter, like a huge stones I left from you. And exploring the dark side can feel a bit scary. It can feel spooky at times, but it's part of us, and it's about knowing yourself better. When you know that, and you go for it, you cleanse it at the same time when you go for it. And after that, you're like, okay, that exists now. I don't need it anymore. It's there, but I know what it is. I put it aside, and that's it. Like, I don't need to really keep focusing on it. But it's, if we never face it, if we never take the time to analyze it, that's when it will come again and again and again. And we might have different stages of the dark night of the soul. It might come again until you really stop and turns towards yourself and say, okay, 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 what you have to tell me, what do you want to show me? And that's the process of healing. And we can have, there is not only one dark night of the soul in our life, but more, like from periods it's usually really precedes periods of growth, inner growth, but facing everything inside of us, knowing ourselves to the core, that is what really helps us to transcend into a new being, into the new world being, 5D consciousness being. But it really helps to increase, elevate our consciousness. So I will transmit now some codes that I asked to be related to that, to ease the process of the dark night of the soul, and is the process of looking at your darker side if you are going through this period and this experience, or if you have experienced it, or if you're about to, because it happens quite regularly to many of us, to most of us, I would say. And I will use again this crystal that I really, really like. Very special polished crystal that I believe has the energy of Agartha, inner earth. It's done, it looked like something not from this world, but it's charged with a lot of vibrations and energy. So I will use that one for this code transmission. You can close your eyes, breathe deeply. Taraya mo korone sa taraya te o korok te sanaraya henkam tanara mahang te so doro hoisika toya matesa. If the dark night of the souls come to your life, just accept it. It's gonna be hard moments, but it's not gonna last. Just accept it. And don't try to fight it, don't try to control it. Taraho koramnia sakorumi sokokitakarisha tasenum de nenhiata katakono dokasa hano yamonte se atarandike tasadotume reyestotonte hayaka. Just accept it, don't control it, let it come. It's gonna pass, it's not gonna last, it's just a transition, it's just a passage. Take it a bit like a rite of passage. Tarado moya sa tarahanieseko. Taranesi kahokutukutiyese to monna yaka. Tarahasok tako hokoto laksasaka. Tarase no manayaka tatala kuyoki. Tasonama taraya hadadai. Uyo hayo honoyangam. Tarase torum dayoso yase tarende namum te shondi sange tasundarayum na torehiyum taram. You're never alone when the dark night of the soul occurs. If it occurs, you're never alone. You're always surrounded by beautiful energies, the universe's energies, Gaia's energies. You can connect to those to get some support. You're never alone. Even if it feels like you're completely alone, you are alone only within yourself and just with yourself. But you're never completely alone. Tarum tisina rashrogurukura shohoko, the so monetisa, that the yum kayo taloho, the rasio hodo show, the sahoko dea, the nimonica, the soko to lodiaki, so shodo so soko montekaya. The dark night of the soul is just a passage, and after that comes some introspection. More, it invites you to introspection, deep introspection, and renewal. That's what it is about. It's looking into yourself so you can reborn anew. Tarahoko so toraseke shahoko. Taranyamonta sakarake. Toharaya sako to. Tasankarak no yosha. Think that after this difficult period you rise anew like spring after winter. Tarahodo saraka. You're gonna cleanse yourself through that dark period. Toroho with this it is a positive period. Embrace it. Aramonke sakrokoranieka. Rokonge sakaton. Kisni. Tonira nyoko lukuntea. Talesrokoto. Tolisea mordeke. It comes to you so you can burst into a new set of growth, learn more things about your soul. Elevate even further, bring more light into your life. You look at the dark to bring more light onto it, and to shine even brighter. Shine your light even more powerfully. You are light, and that's why light is shining upon your darkness sometimes, so light can shine even more onto it. You can transmute everything to light, the dark into light. The dark into you is transmuted into light. It rises into light. The sorrow the morning kissishaka. The naraya ho soktoraka. The soktokumonte kia. The lium kodosoko. The lium tisisha hokato. You rise into light, you rise even more, even higher, you shine and shine, shine brighter, elevate higher. And you're never alone, you're guided by the universe's energies. The higher energies are guiding your soul. Do not be afraid during this period. You're only putting more light into every part of your being. You're transcending it to a brighter being. The bright days are arriving. To sondoronge soya shunge sahoko. Tarenye hanoronti yahuntisho. Welcome all this cleansing period with peace. You're at peace. Whatever happens, you're at peace. You're not alone. You're fine, whatever happens. You're okay, you're right. You're never alone, you're loved. You're so loved, so much loved by the universe. All the energies around you, everything, everyone, Gaia. You're surrounded by love. Yang Kasorayang. Keep on breathing deeply. You can rest. Rest for some minutes. Integrate these codes of light. Take your time to come back to yourself. I send you all my love, all my light. Keep on shining brighter. Elevate higher. I love you all.